welcome to episode 2 of Making Zak the Ripper. Great to see you again, Warren. So in this episode, we're going to just give a brief production update as to where we are with the film, what we've been up to this week, and then talk about our journey to finance the film and the steps that we took and how we kind of ended up in a production process, essentially. So just a quick update from my side on the production element. So I've been running around along with you to different locations, measuring them up, getting those flat view, God, what are they called? The floor plans. Get my words out. The floor plans out, so we can put those into our previs tools and create them in 2D and 3D spaces, and really work on how we're going to be, practically shooting in those locations. So it's been, it's been fun meeting our people who are going to be hosting us at our different locations this week. And in more exciting news, whilst doing floor plans is exciting, more exciting, we had some developments on our cast. So Warren, do you want to share a bit about that?
We've been looking for a particular part to be filled for a little while, and kind of came up with an idea a couple of weeks ago. And it's always lovely. We're not going to. The news will come out next week of who it is, but we're quite excited to have him. And it's lovely when you have an idea of someone who you want, and then you start the process of trying to get them. It's quite rare. So next week we'll be able to say who we've got, and cannot wait to work with him.
Absolutely. Tease the gender, but nothing else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. We'll talk a bit more, a lot more about casting and that process and how that works in a different episode. But yeah, really, really exciting stuff. And I think we've also been hard at work around the finance, which is obviously relevant to this episode, and planning and breaking the cost down into different areas and just having complete clarity around the financial side. Such an important element for the production. So we've been doing a lot of that this week. Other than that, it feels like there's a million tasks on both our to-do lists.
Yes, it certainly never gets any less, the to-do list. However many things you do, there's just more things to do. It's a nightmare. But it's good though. It's great. Keeps you busy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be, after we've finished recording this, we're going to be jumping in the car and going off to one of our potential and probably final locations, or rather for the film's finale, and just going through more detail there. And every time we jump in a car together, we always generate more things to do.
It's the worst thing to do. I should sit in the boot, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just transport you there and get you out at the end. So, that's a sort of very brief update on where we are with the production. But for this episode, we wanted to talk about financing the film, and we talked about what do we talk about with financing? Because it's ultimately you can't make a film if you don't have any money to do it, and that's whether that's £100 to make a film or it's 100 million. You need some level of investment to make something, even if it's a tiny budget. There's always going to be some level of cost involved. So I thought we could sort of start it with talking about when we had those initial conversations about making Zak the Ripper. We talked about, okay, well, what do you think we'd need to make this film? And we plucked some figures out of the sky, if I'm honest, at that point, because we hadn't done a proper budget, and we were both thinking it would be great if we could shoot over this sort of time period, aim for this sort of cast, and we knew that there would be a number of locations we'd need, and we reckoned it would probably be a sub 500k movie. And that figure from 500k down to a low figure was flexible. It was working out how we could go from there. And then I think we both had, and correct me if I'm wrong here, we both had the attitude of, let's just start down this journey. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't know if we're going to raise the money, but we've got to start and go from there. So what were your sort of initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just daunting, isn't it? Right at the start of these processes, when you've got an idea, and we had a script, and I'd finished the script at that point. So we had that, but that was it really. And I think you can go and start trying to raise money at that point. We thought there's like a list of things we could do to put us in a better position, didn't we, before we started to do that? So I guess, there's no silver bullet, is there? That's the one thing to say, is that obviously having my experience and the films we've got behind us helps, because it's a little bit of trust there that potential investors can see that a film is going to get made, which is quite important, obviously. Yeah, so we kind of sat down, didn't we, and thought, what can we do, and to kind of get ourselves in a better position. And I guess the first thing to talk about, we made a teaser trailer. We shot a scene from the film with Si, our lead, and that has been hugely beneficial, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And a shout out to Kyriakos at Nostos in Hove, who kindly let us use his restaurant to shoot that teaser. And I think it was great for all of us because it was great to see the character and the kind of the world of Zak the Ripper being brought to life. Great for Cy to be able to play the part and give people who maybe struggle to translate kind of what we're telling to actually show, okay, well, watch this. This is a teaser of what we're trying to create and the kind of vibe we're looking to bring to the film. So I think it was a really valuable exercise, wasn't it? And a lot of fun to do as well to see
Yeah,
that
yeah,
come to life.
really enjoyable. Yeah, and as a writer, to see the character is massively exciting. Just to have him sitting there and work with him and Ella, the actress we used for that, and just you can see this teaser we're talking about on our website. It's there to have a look at, and yeah, I just think it's really helped. It's helped to sort of show the world of the film, like you say, but also that technically we can be trusted with your money. We can make a movie, and I think that was great, and that ties in to the building of the website. And we started casting, didn't we, before uh, the money side of it? Just which again, there's arguments to doing that the other way around, but because we had the teaser, meant we could go out and try and get some cast because we had something we could show them, and we could show agents, and we could show talent. So yeah, that teaser, I think. We sort of went to and fro about doing it or not doing it, didn't we? And then we thought, no, let's get it done. And yeah, that has been a huge help, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And if my memory serves me, I think we spent about 1,200 quid in the
Yeah, we
end
did. Yeah.
on it in all. So not a huge amount. It was a 1 day shoot, bit of rehearsal time, and then just go in and get it done. And we had various different versions of the teaser that we cut that we've used in various different guises for various different reasons, essentially. So as a kind of a promotional asset, it was quite versatile for us to be able to
It
use it.
was. Yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
was.
which was great. And as you said, then it was like, okay, let's build the website, and then let's act as if we're going to get the funding for this film, even though at this moment in time we have no idea where we're going to get the funding. And then that kind of set off a whole chain of events of talking to people that we knew who'd done this before at different budget levels and kind of getting their advice. And exactly as you said, the feedback was really there isn't a silver bullet. There isn't a definitive way to do this. And then it was a case of looking at all the different funding areas of BFI, the traditional sort of routes, councils, individuals, sales agents. Could we get distribution companies and sales agents interested in this? Is there any funds from anywhere? And it was a lot of research, wasn't it? It was a lot of
Yeah, it'll work.
looking at different options of how we could raise the money, and then also putting in some sort of plan to start approaching. And then that was a lot of emails, a lot of sort of reaching out. And then we both kind of sort of jokingly said what we need is someone who is in the business, that loves films, and is looking to invest in this type of level of project. And we almost kind of, you talk about sort of sales, you have like an idealized avatar of your ideal customer, as it were. We talked about that person, and I think, I don't know how you feel about this, and I'll shut up after I've said this, but it felt like that we put in a lot of effort and a lot of work to get to the point where if we met that person, our proposition was strong, it was credible, we were credible, and we could articulate what we wanted to create, and then we could demonstrate and show that visually as well. And also we had a big sales pitch deck which articulated that story and the audience and our vision as well. So there was a lot of thought and planning when going to that. So yeah, anything to
Yeah.
add?
Just like you say, I think without all the pre stuff we did, I don't think it would have happened. I think it would have been. It's just too much of an ask for someone to come in and pitch in some money on the basis of kind of an idea that you might luck out, and that may happen to you. But I think we did a lot of work, and it paid off. We did a lot of work on while the movie may never have happened, we still had to do that work, working like it was happening. I think that's the key, isn't it? We never thought we wouldn't make it, which is always a possibility, of course. 9 out of 10 times, you wouldn't make it. But the fact that we were so confident and we were where we were meant when the meeting came along, I think we were in a really strong position. And as we were talking about we've been talking about for weeks and weeks, is that we've split our money raise in two. So in order to not make it too, well, it's a lot of money, but it's not as much to get. We're going to shoot the film first, get it shot in the can, and then do a secondary raise using the footage that we can cut a lovely trailer together. And I think given our experience of the first raise, we'll be in such a great position by the time we've shot this to raise the bit for post production that we need. So we're kind of split it in two, which has helped, I think. And again, back to the no silver bullet, and we can't. I'd hesitate to say that our way is the right way, but we did everything we could, and I think that we've benefited from that. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I was just thinking about the timeframes for this to give people an idea. So I remember incorporating the company. So we set up a production company, a limited company, as a special purpose vehicle for this production in July last year, and we'd been talking about it prior to that. I can't remember if we shot the trailer before that we did that or afterwards, but it was around that time.
It was.
And here we are now in June the following year. And we've still got a few months until we actually shoot. So I think it's taken time, but it's also that mindset of I hate to use the Kevin Costner Field of Dreams. If you build it, it will come. But it was literally kind of like, okay, we're just gonna have to pretend this is going to happen. And I don't mean that in a wishy-washy manifestation sort of, I'm just going to sit here and it will happen. It was, we believe it's going to happen, and we're going to work our asses off to do everything we can do that's in our control to be in the best possible position to make that happen. And if we fall flat on our faces in this initial stage and it doesn't work, then so be it. We're willing to kind of like have that, uncomfortableness.
And I think we had several budgets, and we had a silver, bronze and gold, the gold being the top end, and we had three, and that helps. That kind of always gives you, sort of grounds you that always remember you may have to make this for the bronze budget. And then if you can get a little bit above that, amazing. But that kind of helped, I think, that we were always willing to make it for much less if we had to.
Yeah.
But it was always going to be a bit easier with a little bit more money, as filmmaking just is. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, with filmmaking, because whatever budget you've got, your ambition grows and you want to do more things, and then suddenly it's like when you get a bit of extra money, there's always a bill to meet that extra money. So
there is
with filmmaking,
exactly, and we kind of I've made films for 20 grand before, and you're arguing about pennies and pounds here and there with, can we afford that? Can we afford sandwiches? Can we afford this? Can we afford an extra person, like an extra runner? And then you have a bit more money, and it's exactly the same issue, because you spend the budget and you have better people, you can pay people a bit better, you have better cast, and then your budget is reached in the spreadsheet, and you're back arguing about biscuits again. You're back trying to work out, all the tiny minutiae and stuff. It's just quite interesting. I guess that happens at any level. I guess, because you can very easily spend your budget.
Yeah,
filmmaking.
It's easy to spend money.
It really is. Yeah.
It was one of the other things I was thinking about that we talked, and I kind of learnt on the way, was different tax breaks that are available. And one of the things that was first there was around kind of, if you have a production company and you've got a slate of films, the tax breaks to investors were a lot more attractive than if you just had a one-off production, which is what I was going to be. Ours is, and obviously there are opportunities in that area as well for us. But it kind of made us think about kind of the next step, as once we've completed Zak the Ripper, as to how we kind of organise and structure us from a commercial sort of side, and how we move going forward. Because I think this kind of bleeds into kind of the marketing side, is that from my point of view, and I know from yours as well, that we were very, very serious in that if we were working with investors that they would get absolutely everything out of us from a commercial standpoint to get that money back and some, and for everyone to succeed with the film. Now, there's no guarantees with that, and we didn't offer any guarantees. Independent film investment is high risk, because there are lots of things that don't work, but there are a lot of films that can work and do work as well. So, I think one of the things that we were very keen on was going back to that credibility side, is that when we're talking to people, that we could demonstrate a level of track record at a certain level, and this was kind of moving on to a different budget level. But we knew what we were trying to do. We could show it, we could plan it. Our budget documents are comprehensive, line item galore. Everything is detailed, and just to be able to talk through that and show that, I think, is really, really important. But there's so now, just as we're talking about it, there's so many different elements, really, isn't it, that leads into kind of a picture of someone going, okay, right, I trust you, and I'm willing to transfer a load of money into your account, and you go make a film. It's
it's a lot of trust. It's scary, and it's exciting. I think it's, like I say, going back to the start, we did everything we could to set ourselves up to be ready, and I think it has paid off, because we're going to make this movie now. And so it's been like a good year, but the year seems like a long time since we made the trailer. But also, it's never felt like we've been sitting around, does it? It's constantly been working and constant stuff to do, and that just gets more and more the closer you get to the shoot. And again, back to the investor, I think the fact that we've tried our best to be as transparent and professional as we can, and I think that our investors have been keen that we are just, the planning's there, the professionalism there, the back, we've got the films behind us that we've worked on. I think it's all come to this head, and now here we are on the brink.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't touched upon that maybe I've forgotten, or that was important around the kind of raising money and kind of that whole process? I'm sure there probably is, but I just thought to ask if there's anything you can think of.
I can't think of anything that, other than, like I say, it's there's an element of luck, of course, with anything. I guess with you're investing in a business, a film, anything, there's an element of luck, which we've had, but we've earned it, I think. So but again, that would be where I'd end it, I guess.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's always, like with any kind of raise for a film, it depends on what film you're making and what sort of money you want to get, isn't it? And being resilient to the inevitable no's and frustrations and knockbacks is really, really important.
It is, yeah.
But I suppose we're talking about going out and trying to raise a fairly large sum in monetary terms. In film terms, it's not large at all, because there's films made for many, many millions that are nowhere near what we're doing. But it's still asking for a lot of money to go out and make a film and have that investment. But if you don't have any money, you can still go out and do stuff these days. The technology is there.
Yeah, I'm proof of that. You can make films for next to nothing. I've done it on several occasions. So, and that has its own charms as well. And I thought we thoroughly enjoyed that process, didn't we? And we're enjoying this one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, that's our episode. A very brief sort of light overview on finance and kind of how we've done things. Again, if anyone's got any questions or wants to know or have a look at the teaser, it's on our website, which is in the video. And next week we'll talk about casting and that whole process as well. So that's great. Thanks, Warren.
Cheers, mate.